chacham leiv bachem yavo v'yasu es kol asher tziva Hashem. Every wise man should come and do what Hashem commanded. So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says like this: if really, what should the pasuk have said? Theoretically, the pasuk should have said, every wise man should come along and should help build the Mishkan. Right? Everyone should help build the Mishkan. Comes along the pasuk doesn't say that. The pasuk says every wise man should come along and do what Hashem commanded. Okay, so we have a fundamental in Judaism here, which I've spoken about many times in the past, and Moshe Feinstein says it's right here in this pasuk. And that's as following. What was their goal right now? What was the goal of the Jewish people right now? The goal was to build the Mishkan? No. That was not the goal. The goal is to always do the will of Hashem, to do the Ratzon Hashem. The Mishkan's not the goal. The Mishkan happens to be the project that you're involved in right now. The goal is to do the Ratzon Hashem. You follow. You hear the difference. This is what I call, there's something what I call the bridge over the river Kwai syndrome. You ever heard me mention that before? You never heard, there was a famous movie, The Bridge Over River Kwai. You never heard of it? Didn't you guys do anything cultured in your life ever? You never watch movies? Right? Too young. I mean, what they watch all day long, they're watching stuff. Hey, never, the good stuff you missed. So there's a movie called The Bridge Over the River Kwai. Brilliant, brilliant movie. The theme of the movie was that the Allies are captured by the Japanese. They're in a Japanese camp in World War II. The Japanese need a movie. The Japanese need a bridge built over a strategic river called the River Kwai. They assign the project to the POWs, the prisoners of war, are assigned the job of building this bridge, and the head officer is played by Alec Guinness, happens to be one of yours, is English. So he's the colonel, a British colonel, and he's in charge of the project building this bridge. Now, if you were POWs building a strategic bridge for the enemy in World War II, how do you think you would build it? Well, you drag your feet a little bit, sabotage a little bit, more or less like the Arabs build buildings in Israel nowadays. Anybody who ever moves into a new apartment in Israel, you always find shoes in the pipes and stones, and there's flooding, and they sabotage. As soon as the guy's not watching them, they sabotage things. So you'd expect American prisoners of war are going to start sabotaging things. So what happens? Alec Guinness gets caught up in the project. And he's so caught up in building this bridge, he wants to build it fast and he wants to build it well. And he forgets that there's a war going on. And his own men keep trying to say to him, listen, we really shouldn't be doing this. Let's at least try to sabotage, slow down. And he's so caught up in the bridge. It's what I call, in Yiddishkeit, a bridge over the River Kwai syndrome. That means people have what's called tunnel vision, and you get so caught up in doing the mitzvah, you forgot why you're doing the mitzvah. There's one reason. You know why you're doing the mitzvah? That's what the pasuk says. Asher tziva Hashem, because Hashem commanded it. That's why you might find the phenomenon of somebody who elbows you in the head on his way to kiss the Sefer Torah on Shabbos. He's so focused on kissing the Sefer Torah, he forgets that there are people on his planet. So get out of my way. I got to kiss the Sefer. Why do you want to kiss the Sefer Torah? To serve Hashem. Hashem doesn't want to be served with your elbows. Right, with you elbowing other people. Some days you have somebody who has to daven for the Yomud. They'll say he's got yortzei. So two men get into an argument who's going to daven for the Yomud. For what purpose? To elevate the soul of the deceased. So they have a fight over it, right? Which is the absolute worst way to elevate the soul of anybody. You have somebody who decides we're going to your house for Shabbos. This is funny. Sometimes women, you're invited. One family A is invited to family B for Shabbos. So Mrs. A decides she wants to bring something. She says, "Oh, can I bring the gefilte fish?" And Mrs. B says, "No, let me bring it." "No, I want to bring it." Why do you want to bring it? Ostensibly, you want to do a chesed for her and help her out, right? So you get angry when she says, so what kind of chesed is it? You understand? Because you've lost sight of what the goal really is. Moshe Rabbeinu comes along and says, you're not building a Mishkan. That's not your goal. Your goal is to try. Your goal is to try. That's not your goal, is to finish it. Our job is to do the Ratzon Hashem and to do it properly. And not compromise because we're trying to reach the end goal. So something that you find sometimes in outreach, where somebody invites somebody to their house for Shabbos. And they invite them to drive for Shabbos. Drive over on Shabbos so I can show you how beautiful Shabbos is. Yeah, but Hashem said don't drive on Shabbos and don't have other people drive on Shabbos. You've lost sight of the goal. Therefore, a person always has to keep in mind, I'm not doing the mitzvah. I'm doing kol asher tziva Hashem. You hear the difference. You hear what's going on here. And therefore, the Torah says they should do kol asher tziva Hashem. Okay. Now, take a look at one last point in Vayakhel, then we're going to Vayikra. Perek Lamed Hey Pasuk Chaf. After Moshe gives the command, in page 518, and this is particularly apropos for right now, gentlemen, about 10 lines from the top. After Moshe finishes giving the commands and saying what needs to be done, then it says, Vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael b'liftei Moshe. The entire congregation leaves from the presence of Moshe Rabbeinu. So again, the commentaries ask, why would the Torah tell us where they left if the whole Parsha starts, Vayakhel Moshe es kol adas b'nei Yisrael? Moshe Rabbeinu is doing the talking over here. Moshe's been talking to them. So it says the Jewish people left from before Moshe. So I saw the Vali Musar, they talk about the following. Imagine you see a guy walking on the street. He's waddling side to side. He's wobbling side to side, and it's very unsteady on his feet. Where would you assume he just came from?
Drinking.
A bar. Right? You can see the way the guy's walking. He must have just come from a bar. Right? He came from, you guys obviously, I had a friend once when we were in camp. We were counselors, so once a week, when we were in Wisconsin, once a week they would take the counselors. We went to this little Wild Rose, Wisconsin little town. They had one little bar in town, and we go bowling in a bowling alley with the bar. There are 4 lanes in the bowling alley, so we go bowling, and some guys would have some beer. So I remember one of the counselors had been drinking. We got back to camp, and somebody says to him, Plony, you're drunk. He says, no, I'm not. He says, yes, you can't even walk a straight line. He says, yes, I could. So he gets up in front of all of us to walk this straight, puts one foot in front of the other, and he goes full on his face. That was his trail. He came out of a tavern. You can tell where he's coming from. Says the Torah, people were in the presence of Moshe, he wiped out. Total wipeout. People were in the without being pushed. People were in the presence of Moshe Rabbeinu. Presence of Moshe Rabbeinu. When you leave Moshe Rabbeinu, everybody should see you were just standing in front of Moshe Rabbeinu. You went to Bnei Brak. You saw who did you see? Gershon Edelstein. When you walk, you see Rav Chaim Kanievsky. When you come out of seeing Rav Chaim Kanievsky, watch people coming out of Rav Chaim Kanievsky. Nobody comes out. Oh, yeah, that was great, right? Somebody doing that means he came out of a ball game, right? Or he's leaving his in-laws' house, right? Yeah, but he's not somebody. It's not somebody who's what do you call it? It's not somebody who's came out of one of the Gedolei Yisrael. You come out of Gedolei Yisrael, you're generally sobered up. That's generally what happened. I remember I went to, Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel. Rav Nosson Tzvi was Rosh Hashiva to Mir Yeshiva. Famous Rav Nosson Tzvi. He had Parkinson's, very later stage Parkinson's. So I went to a shiur of his. He used to give a shiur, Chumash shiur on Friday. When he gave his shiur, he was shaking so much from the Parkinson's. He walked in. He was sitting in a big chair. The first thing he did was he crossed his hands. He would have to hold his hand, and he was moving around like this, giving the shiur. He's bouncing around from side to side, and there's a guy with a microphone following him around. At one point, he shook so hard, so violently, his yarmulke fell off. And he's giving the shiur. He talks in a low voice. You could barely hear him. And I remember I sat there at the shiur. When I left that shiur, I only had one thought in my head when I left that shiur. We walked out. For the first 20 minutes, I didn't hear a word he said because I was just so shaken by watching him. And after the Chumash shiur, and it happened a week, I went there a few weeks in a row, and every time I came out of the shiur, I had one thought. You know what it was? Kaplan, grow up. Keep thinking to myself, grow up. I can't learn right now. I have a headache. I have all sorts of issues. Everything's bothering us in life. This man had a lot more bothering him than anybody else should ever have and ever will have. And he's able to learn. You walk out, you're very, very sobered. Person walks away from a Moshe Rabbeinu. You're out of the presence of a Moshe Rabbeinu. People should know where you came from just now. Vayetze, they left the presence of Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody should say, Ki vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael milifnei Moshe. These are people who just walked away from Moshe Rabbeinu. This is particularly suitable now at the end of a Zman. Everybody has Bein Hazman, and everybody's going where they have to go. You're out of the structure of being in yeshiva. Anybody who encounters us should know that we are coming from a yeshiva. That's the rule. Person who encounters us anywhere we go right now, wherever we are, wherever we find ourselves, in a Bein Hazmanim, and even during the Zman, when you're in a yeshiva, somebody meets you should know this is somebody who's coming out of the base medrash. This is somebody who has just had his face in a Gemara all morning. This is somebody who's just been in a shiur. People should see that on us and sense it on us. And certainly when we're leaving the yeshiva, we're going into a Bein Hazmanim situation where we have less structure, where we're not as something that's keeping us grounded and anchored in the way we should be, the way we want to be. We have to be doubly cautious. People encounter us, it should always be a pleasant encounter. I'll tell you something, it says by Avram Avinu, when Avram Avinu went to Egypt, and he came back from Egypt. So the Torah says on the way back from Egypt, he stopped off at the same hostels he had been at on the way down to Egypt. Why did he go to the same hostels? So different reasons there. One of the reasons Rashi brings is he had to pay his debts. He had to pay his debts. What does that mean? What does that mean he had to pay? What debts did he have? The answer is on the way down to Egypt, he had no money. And he comes to a hostel, and they put him up for free. And he said, I'll catch you on the way back. I'll pay you off on the way back. The way back from Egypt, you don't even know you're coming back from Egypt, right? I mean, a guy comes into your hotel. I got no money. I'll catch you on the way back. Oh yeah, yeah. I imagine a guy pulls into a motel somewhere between Pennsylvania and Ohio. Yeah, I haven't got any money, but on the way back, I'll stop off. I'll have money for you. I think not. Can you imagine anybody giving you credit for that? Extending you credit? And Avram Avinu, they obviously extended him credit. You know why? You know what the commentaries say? When you meet an Avram Avinu, you can trust him. If Avram Avinu says, I'm good for my word, then you can trust him. Right? That's what we're trying to be. We're trying to be the type of person, somebody who meets us will say to you, okay, you I trust. Where are we coming from? Had a guy in Chicago, some guys were going on, they had to rent a pickup. They were going on some sort of road trip. So they went outside of Chicago, downstate, there was a truck rental. So a guy comes in, and he's a yeshiva guy. And the guy says to him, you need 3 pieces of identification. So I think he only had 2 somewhere. You needed 2, he only had 1. The guy says, but I only have 1. The guy says, well, you need 2. He says, what are we going to do? So the guy looks at him, he kind of looks him over, says, roll up your sleeve. He says, why? He says, roll up your sleeve. He rolls up his sleeve, says, yeah, you got those lines on your arm. All right, you only need 1 piece of identification. I know, you're good for it. He had the fill-in marks still left on his arm. The guy said, okay, you're good for it. Which is a happy ending to the story. Can you imagine what would have he said? You got those lines on your arm. Forget it. I wouldn't give you with 10 pieces of identification. That could also happen, and we don't want that to happen. That's the idea. They left from before Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody saw it. All right. See you, bye.